the Japanese soil fermentation method that grows plants 3 times faster, without chemicals, has changed the way many gardeners think about their soil. If you've ever looked at your garden and thought, my soil is alive, but it could be doing more, then you're already thinking the way Japanese farmers have thought for generations. On Soilpower, we talk a lot about working with soil biology, instead of fighting it. This Japanese soil fermentation method is one of the clearest examples of that philosophy in action. It doesn't rely on expensive fertilizers, synthetic boosters, or complicated inputs. Instead, it taps into something far more powerful: microbial fermentation. This isn't a trend, it's a time-tested system that turns ordinary soil into a living engine, one that feeds plants faster, deeper, and more efficiently. When done right, it can dramatically speed up plant growth, improve root systems, and restore tired soil in a way that feels almost unfair. Let's break it down properly. Soil fermentation is often misunderstood as composting, but they're not the same thing. Composting is decomposition, fermentation is controlled transformation. In Japanese natural farming, fermentation focuses on encouraging beneficial microorganisms, especially lactic acid bacteria, yeasts, and photosynthetic microbes, to dominate the soil environment. These microbes pre-digest organic matter, making nutrients immediately available to plants. Instead of roots waiting weeks or months for nutrients to break down, fermented soil delivers food almost on demand. That's one of the reasons plants respond so fast. Healthy fermentation also suppresses harmful pathogens. When beneficial microbes take over, disease-causing organisms simply don't get space to thrive. The soil becomes both more fertile and more resilient. This method draws heavily from Korean natural farming and Japanese natural farming, popularized by pioneers like Masanobu Fukuoka and later adapted by farmers focused on microbial balance rather than soil disturbance. In Japan, where land is limited and soil must be productive year after year, farmers learned early that the secret wasn't adding more inputs, it was activating biology. Fermentation became a way to store nutrients, stabilize soil life, and dramatically increase efficiency without degrading the land. What makes this approach special is that it works in poor soils just as well as rich ones. In fact, depleted soils often respond the fastest because they're starving for microbial life. Plants don't actually feed on fertilizer, they feed on microbial byproducts. When microbes digest organic matter, they release enzymes, amino acids, organic acids, and minerals in forms roots can absorb immediately. Fermented soil is already partially digested. That means, roots expend less energy searching for nutrients. Plants redirect energy into leaf growth, flowering, and fruiting. Seedlings establish faster and suffer less transplant shock. Another overlooked benefit is root architecture. Fermented soils tend to produce dense, fibrous root systems rather than long, stressed taproots. This leads to better water uptake and more stable plants, especially in hot or dry conditions. At its heart, this method relies on local organic matter and naturally occurring microbes. Rice bran is commonly used in Japan, but the principle applies anywhere. What matters most is providing a carbon-rich food source that microbes love, combined with moisture and warmth. When conditions are right, fermentation begins naturally within days. Unlike compost piles that require turning and oxygen, fermentation is more controlled and often slightly anaerobic. This creates organic acids that stabilize nutrients and prevent nitrogen loss, something traditional composting often struggles with. One of the biggest mistakes gardeners make is overusing fermented inputs. This method isn't about dumping large quantities into the soil, it's really about activation, not saturation. Just a thin layer mixed into the topsoil is enough to trigger microbial expansion. In beds, fermented soil works best when applied a week or two before planting, giving those microbes time to establish themselves. For existing plants, lightly incorporating it around the root zone, or even using it as a soil drench, can wake up dormant biology and kickstart growth mid-season. What surprises most gardeners is how long the effect lasts. Once microbes colonize the soil, they just keep working as long as organic matter is present. Chemical fertilizers deliver nutrients directly, but they do nothing to improve soil life. Over time, they actually weaken it. Fermented soil does the opposite. Instead of forcing plants to grow fast, it creates conditions where fast growth just happens naturally. The result is stronger stems, deeper roots, and better resistance to pests and stress. Another advantage is nutrient efficiency. Fermented soil drastically reduces nutrient leaching, which means plants use more of what's available instead of losing it to runoff or evaporation. For gardeners focused on sustainability, this method builds soil every season rather than mining it. If you're a beginner, fermented soil simplifies everything. You don't need to memorize fertilizer ratios or feeding schedules, you just feed the soil and let biology handle the rest. For experienced gardeners, it offers something even more valuable: consistency. Crops become more predictable, soil improves instead of degrading, and yields stabilize even in challenging conditions. This method works equally well in raised beds, containers, and in-ground gardens. It scales from a single pot to an entire field. The biggest mindset shift is realizing this isn't a hack, it's a system. Once fermentation becomes part of your soil routine, everything else gets easier. Water retention improves, weed pressure decreases, plants look healthier without constant intervention. The garden starts working with you instead of demanding more effort every season. That's the real magic behind Japanese soil fermentation. It doesn't just grow plants faster, it restores balance. At Soilpower, we believe great gardens start underground. This Japanese soil fermentation method proves that when you focus on microbes, everything above the soil line changes for the better. If this article helped you see soil in a new way, imagine what consistent, hands-on learning can do for your garden. Subscribe to Soilpower for more practical, no-nonsense soil strategies. Share this with a fellow gardener who's struggling with slow growth, and keep building soil that grows stronger every season. Your soil has power. It's time to unlock it.